This table is far more than a piece of furniture. It's a piece of history embellished with the most delectable etching. And this lucky owner inherited it from her metal-obsessed grandmother.
She was always very interested in metalwork, so we weren't surprised when she sent my uncle down in his truck to New York City to pick up this table.
But this artistic masterpiece was crafted by the finest, none other than the famous Philip and Kelvin Laverne. The father and son team created custom, limited edition pieces of furniture, and their furniture designs were collector's items. Though this beauty cost her mother a tidy sum of $6,000, the windfall it's most likely to earn her will make her day.
I think that if this came up in a well-publicized auction, it would probably sell for between $15,000 and $20,000.
Well, that's really good. I'm just a little stunned.
These beauties had been this guest's grandmother's pride and joy, but had been left to collect dust. Turns out the family heirlooms were far more extraordinary than the guest had guessed. It was French silver molded by Jean-Francois Verrat, an 18th century French silversmith. His silver masterpieces are highly sought after for obvious reasons. The stands are high-quality sterling silver, but how much did they value at?
At auction, I would imagine the value of them to be somewhere in the region, noting the damage, of $800 to $1,200.
Wow. Wow.
This guest brought this Warden Eich stool that she inherited from her mother. This incredible piece of furniture has an adventurous inclination based on the life story of Warden Eich, who turned to furniture making after his failed stint as a fine artist. When you look at this simple stool, you will see a fusion of artistry and furniture making, starting from the top that looks like a cow's face with a base carved from oak, which happens to be an uncommon type of base. Turning the stool over, you will see an engraved signature, WE, with 1966 underneath. This indicates that the stool was made in 1966 and substantiates its authenticity. The impressive thing about this stool is that there are no two similar ones. Every stool always has a distinct outlook, shapes, angles, function, and style, which attach an element of rarity to it. The estimated value of this stool ranges between $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh, good.
So between you and your siblings, you have $30,000 in Warden Eich stools.
Yes, and we love them all.
This Navajo Yi weaving rug comes from the guest father, who purchased it from one of his friends after World War II. This beautiful fabric originates from Navajo people's sand painting, primarily used for religious purposes. The commercialization of Yi rugs began with Will Evans, who pioneered its trading from 1912 to 1948. The weavings on this rug depict Yi divinity or religious figures. The particular rug features corn weaving and an encircled rainbow Yi. The vibrant red, green, and orange colors in this weaving are made with aniline dyes. The pristine condition of this rug, evident on both sides, and its tight weaving distinguishes it from what is commonly seen. The value of this rug should fall within the range of $3,000 to $6,000. This guest was so lucky to have picked these Van Briggle Art Deco plaques at a rummage sale. The interesting pieces were crafted by Raymond Porter, renowned for his sculptural work and medallions for World War I. The fascinating thing about these plaques is the depiction of male and female figures that resemble those from ancient Grecian or Romans. When you look at the back of these plaques, you will see the signature Van Briggle Company and July 1938, along with an engraved Raymond Porter SC. These items are purely Art Deco, with a timeless and dynamic appeal. In today's auction market, these plaques should be worth between $800 to $1,000 apiece.
Or $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, a piece?
A piece.
Get out!
No!
Yay!
This guest brought these 3 stoves to the show, but the Salesman sample parlor stove stands out among the rest. Salesman sample stoves were produced in meticulous detail as a miniature version of actual stoves, typically used for heating small spaces like the living room. Although there are several Salesman sample stoves around, this particular one is the best and rarest version you could find. This piece is the American version, patented in 1888. Despite the door that is missing, this incredible piece still commands a reasonable price from Salesman sample stove collectors. The estimated value of the Salesman sample stove is around $2,500 to $3,000. These two pieces of paper are the score and script that Ronnie Chang used during the making of the 2018 blockbuster movie Crazy Rich Asians. Ronnie Chang is a Malaysian comedian and actor who played the role of Eddie Chang in Crazy Rich Asians and Jay Wayne in Godzilla. The script has the highlighted words he read about the character and some alternative lines he wrote to support what was in the script. The other piece of paper was Brian Tyler's signed music sheet of all the music used in the movie. The script and score are priceless items because of their connection to Chang in the film. Because of the signature, the signed music script is valued at around $750. With the script having all the annotations used in such a great movie, it should be worth around $1,500.
What? Yeah.
This toad is liked by the owner, but his wife dislikes it. But she gets surprised after knowing its value in the end.
Do you like him a little bit more now?
Yes.
Good.
The owner received it as a surprise birthday gift from his mother.
So I said, well, what about giving me Ugly Toad? So she gave me Ugly Toad.
This is made by a Scottish pottery called Dunmore, which began operating in the 18th century. Its bright yellow glaze is linked to Chinese mythology, where toads symbolize fortune and wealth. In China, it's common to portray toads with coins in their mouths. Despite its age, this piece is notable for its large size and rarity. What is its value?
I think he's such a wonderful thing, and for all the things we've just discussed about him, I think he'd easily carry an auction estimate of between £600 to £900.
Oh, wow. I'm delighted about that.
Discovered by the guest and his mother in an old pack house, this sword had been overlooked for decades. Identified as an artillery saber, this sword stands out due to its unique copper and brass scabbard, unlike the more common iron scabbards. Despite its historical value, the guest admits,
Afraid so. I polished it and hung it over my mantel for about 20 years before I put it in my gun safe.
An appraiser valued the sword at $10,000 in the early 2000s, a time when Confederate swords were highly sought after, possibly fetching $12,000 to $14,000. However, in today's market, the value has decreased, estimated at around $8,000. This George Nelson pencil chair holds sentimental value, passed down from the guest aunt in Worcester. Designed in 1958, this chair is a rare 20th century design, rumored to have been produced for only a year. With articulated arms extending far, the chair is fragile and prone to damage, making well-preserved pieces like this one highly sought after. Despite its age, the chair has been well maintained, a testament to the care taken by both the guest and their aunt. In today's market, this chair could fetch between $4,000 to $7,000 at auction, reflecting its rarity and historical significance in modern furniture design.
Wow.
Not bad for a 50-year-old chair.
No, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Well, thank you. That's like fabulous. I just feel justified. People have always said, oh, that's a great chair. And now I can say, yeah.
This doll has a fascinating story, given to the guest grandmother and used in playful, albeit mischievous adventures in New York City. Created by Martha Chase, a doll maker from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, this doll dates back to around 1915, during Chase's 30-year career. Chase was known for making specialty dolls, including ones inspired by characters like Alice in Wonderland and historical figures like George Washington. What makes this doll unique is its size, standing at an impressive 32 inches tall, adding to its rarity and value. In today's market, this doll could fetch between $900 and $1,000 in retail, reflecting its historical significance and craftsmanship.
Okay.
This table is a rare example of Boston classical furniture, distinguished by its arched support. Crafted around 1815, the table features bird's eye maple veneer on the top and drawers, a popular choice in the northeastern United States. Notable features include outset rounded corners, a vestige of four legs, and a missing decorative drop that would have added to its elegance. The arch support under the table is a European design favored in England in the early 1800s and exclusively used in Boston in America, further indicating its origin. The table boasts a classical water-leaf carved pedestal, scrolled legs, and elaborate Rococo coasters imported from Birmingham, England, common in high-end furniture of the early 19th century. Believed to have been a birthday present for the guest ancestor, who was well-to-do and ran a large plantation, the table showcases elaborate details indicative of its expensive nature. In today's market, this table could fetch between $5,000 to $7,000 in auction.
Oh, wonderful.
The guest brought a sampler acquired by her grandmother. Originally, the sampler was made by a girl named Zia Gore at the age of 11 in 1791. The sampler displayed the name Zia Gore and a motto that reflected childhood mortality concerns in the late 18th century. This was one of a small group of samplers known to have been made in Boston, Massachusetts, exhibiting British scenes. The appraiser mentioned that a similar sampler is made by Elizabeth Richards.
So Winter Tour has the basic match to this sampler, different motto, but basically the same scene, which implies that they were all going to the same school.
Right.
Who was Zia Gore's cousin. The sampler was remarkably well preserved with its original frame and boasted bright colors. The value estimated for the item ranged between $40,000 to $60,000.
No.
Yes.
Owned by his great-great-grandfather, this man inherited a Gibson tenor banjo, a Florentine model made in 1927. This particular banjo is unique, with variations such as the hearts and flowers inlay and a checkerboard pattern, which are not commonly found in Florentines.
The other thing is that it's got an ebony fingerboard, and some of these models back then had rosewood.
The banjo features a carved and painted design, engraved gold-plated metalwork, and a paraloid peghead overlay with rhinestones. The banjo's value is estimated at around $8,000 to $10,000 in retail. This man owns 2 Broadway costume sketches acquired from charity auctions.
I know I paid $500 for this. I'm not sure about that, but I would guess about $1,500.
The owner acquired these items for personal enjoyment rather than as investments. One is Chita Rivera and Anita in the original West Side Story Broadway production, and the other features Carol Channing in her famous role from the 1964 original production of Hello, Dolly. The West Side Story sketch is created by Irene Sharaff, while the Hello, Dolly sketch is made by Freddie Whittop. Both sketches are gouache and ink on board, signed by their respective costume designers. Chita Rivera has signed the mat of her sketch. However, the market for Broadway costume sketches is traditionally smaller than that for Hollywood film costumes. It's estimated that the value of the West Side Story sketch is at $2,000 to $3,000, and the Carol Channing sketch at a similar range.
That's great, but I really didn't buy them as an investment. I bought them because I like the work.
The next item is a beautiful vase from Abuja, the capital of Nigeria. With the glaze, it looks like it was made in China 600 to 700 years ago. Renowned potter Lottie Kwali crafted this masterpiece. She expertly shaped the pots with round bodies and narrow necks. Her pots, admired worldwide, are famous for their perfect balance.
Well, Lottie Kwali pots are very popular. People like them for obvious reasons. They're very decorative. They give a room gravitas.
The owner and her husband purchased this vase in the early 70s. The owner didn't realize the vase's significance and used it as a basket at an auction.
That would be valued easily at £1,000 to £2,000.
Ooh. Well, great.
This owner brought a painting by Herman Dudley Murphy, a Boston painter known mostly for still lifes and landscapes. The painting is signed and dated from the early 1900s. Dudley Murphy has trained in Europe and has been involved in frame making. He started a frame shop in 1903, and one of his hires, Charles Prendergast, was the brother of a famous painter, Maurice Prendergast. Murphy's frames are highly regarded and could be a significant part of the artwork's value. The estimated auction value for the painting alone is between $7,000 to $9,000. Considering the value of the frame, the entire package could sell for $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Really? Really?
Easy peasy.
If antiques could talk, what would yours say about the way you treat them? Pieces of this kind are so easily duplicated that even with the strongest of provenance, one would still need to get a certificate of authenticity from the Calder Foundation. The piece was a model of a sculpture made by Alexander Calder for the Brussels World Fair in 1958. The main sculpture measures at 22 feet and is currently being displayed in Brussels.
I can remember standing next to the actual thing in the shop before it was shipped over.
Alexander took this model to the metal fabricating shop where the guest father worked to find out if they could make it. After the job was completed, the model remained in the possession of her father. The guest family was in luck because Calder's pieces are very desirable, and for this piece, it's valued at...
Time would probably be in the $50,000 to $75,000 range.
Really?
It might look like an ordinary stick, but it isn't something to mess around with, because one wrong trigger and something could go wrong. The piece is a pistol cane made during the 19th century by a gunsmith named Jacob Cuns. Jacob Cuns made such fantastic gun pieces that Meriwether Lewis, former secretary to the President of the United States, took one of his guns on the Lewis and Clark expedition. A friend of the guest liked an old bottle that he owned, so he traded the pistol cane for it. Little did he know that he was giving away something way more valuable.
And this is extremely rare. This is just a great, great item, beautifully made by a premier craftsman.
The item valued between...
Because I think this really is worth $10,000 to $15,000.
For 16 years, he collected the autographs of 150 music legends. He cut spaces on the back of the guitar, and each person was to sign their name in the box. Popular musicians like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Johnny Cash, Dizzy Gillespie, Elton John, and Chick Corea signed the guitar. The guest even got to have a chit-chat moment with Stevie Ray Vaughan while he signed the guitar.
It started snowing, his tour bus pulled up, and he invited me on. So then I'm there talking to him, and he's signing my guitar. Really, really nice guy.
All the signatures he collected were of musicians which he greatly admired. It must have been a great experience during his 16 years of collecting.
Absolutely. So that's really the thrill for you, is that you get to meet these musicians.
Right. The autographs all together on a single guitar made it more special.
So looking at all of this, I would put an auction estimate of the guitar for about $4,000 to $6,000.
Wow. Thank you.
She placed her painting wrongly on her wall all along, and even her friends thought wrong about the placement. What do you think the correct placement should be?
They were smart, they thought.
Should be this way. Should be this way.
Was your guess about its placement right? The painting was bought by the woman for $50 from an art shop. It was painted by an American painter, Levi Wells Prentice.
He's one of these painters who I feel, when you've seen one of his paintings, you'll always recognize other ones. He's got a very distinctive realist style.
Prentice is well known for his still-life paintings of fruits rolling out of a basket. His paintings were simple, yet they somehow made bold statements, and that is perhaps why they were hot in the marketplace. The $50 spent on the painting was money well invested, as the painting got valued between $20,000 to $30,000.
That's ridiculous. I loved it. I mean, it's such a wonderful, wonderful painting.
She was the only one in the family that wanted this vase, which was at her father's estate. The vase was made by a pottery company in Cincinnati known as Rookwood. Its design was done by one of the best decorators in the company, who goes by the name of Arthur Conant. Conant worked with Rookwood for about 25 years and decorated many colorful vases.
I was wondering, why would they do a back? Because he was very good. He was a painter, he was a sculptor, he knew what he was doing.
When they first came into business, Rookwood had an on and off operation. However, they are now regarded as one of the most outstanding examples of American decorative arts. It was an exciting moment for the guest when she heard that her vase valued at $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh my golly, we didn't believe that.
This cute little collector brought in her Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls to the Roadshow. Her mom had found the dolls in the closet, and the little girl suspected that they were owned by her great-grandmother because Nana had a whole bunch of old stuff. Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls are soft dolls made of cloth. They were created by Johnny Gruelle and were based on the characters of a children's book series which he wrote. Raggedy Ann and Andy stories have continued to be published and has garnered millions of readers around the world. The dolls are equally still loved by past and present owners.
I can see why you like them. Is there anyone in particular you like the most?
I really like that one because that one's not all dazzled up with the flowers or the bow or the hat.
Yeah.
Value for all the dolls was $120 to $150. The love her husband had for the circus was very evident in this fantastic piece he made. He was always fascinated by the circus since he was a little boy, and when he got a collection of circus figures, he decided to build a proper circus. The circus figures included a kangaroo boxing a clown, acrobats on a chair, and a lady and a clown on a trapeze.
I suppose that this piece here really must be the most exciting. Not only does it look the most interesting, it actually is the most interesting. Collectors are fascinated.
Some of the companies that made the figures were Mammoth in Britain and Charbons, a toy company owned by two brothers. The circus was an amazing piece, and her husband could have possibly made a lot of money if he got into the business of making them. For value, the piece was placed at...
One has to be looking at perhaps 800 or perhaps as much as £1,000 for everything
For the whole thing.
Yes. So I think you did very well not to let your children wreck it.
Emil August Pinchard, the artist who did this painting, wasn't really popular in the marketplace, but he did make a lot of wonderful paintings. Emil was from France, and his paintings were mainly in the Orientalist style.
He's being much more avant-garde for the time. He's, or anyway, part of the modern movement, very much like Alfred Stevens, the Belgian, what we call today post-impressionists.
The subject in the painting that was brought to the show was the great-aunt of the guest wife. Her name was Miss Allen, and she was the great-great-granddaughter of George Allen, the founder of Allen and Unwin Publishers. The setting of the painting was the bank of Lake Como, and although the appraiser perceived the printing to have ties with romance, there wasn't much evidence to support the theory. Speaking of value, here's what it got.
It seems extraordinary, but I think one could buy a picture like this for, say, £3,000 or £4,000.
Could this woman's tableware be among the ones used on the Titanic? An exact type is currently at the bottom of the sea inside the sunken ship. The pieces were bought by the guest for $20 at a flea market. She bought it without having any idea about them other than the fact that they were made by White Star Line. When she began watching documentaries about the Titanic and the items that were recovered from it, she got excited at the thought that hers could be among those items. A look at the serial number beneath the pieces told her what she needed to know. They weren't recovered from the Titanic.
So the question is, could it have been on the Titanic? And the answer is maybe, only because the Titanic made one stop before it sunk. And so if somebody was in first class, pocketed this cup and took it off, it's possible that happened.
The mystery of whether or not the tableware was on the Titanic is something collectors would love.
For the cup and saucer at auction, we're looking at $500 to $700. So not bad for a $20
No,
purchase.
I think so. I think that's very nice to know. Thank you.
As someone who was born in England, she was swayed to buy this etching of London when it came up in a charity auction at her workplace. The scene of the etching was St. Paul's Cathedral, and it was done in 1925 by Luigi Kasimir, an Austro-Hungarian artist whose artworks were inspired by the places he traveled to. His piece, which was brought in by the guest, was an acquaint.
Aquatint is a way of etching a copper plate
to hold color.
So it's not watercolor at all?
No, no.
Okay.
Luigi's artworks were sold widely during the 30s, but subsequently the demand for his pieces decreased. The etching's value of $800 to $1,200 was still a great win for the guest compared to the $60 she spent to buy it.
Wow, that's way more than $60. That's fabulous.
When reading the passages in this book, one could almost feel like they are present as the events happen. The second great-grandfather of the guest was a whaling master who went on voyage to the Covington for 3 years. While on voyage, he wrote about the things that happened in this book. Whaling is a process of capturing whales to be used in commercial products. The end products of whales serve various purposes, including consumption. What are your thoughts on this? Should whaling be allowed or banned? The logbook provided interesting stories about the lives of the whalers on sea.
He was saying, basically, what a way to spend the 4th of July here at sea, not seeing anything else.
Being a rare item, it was given a value of $5,000 to $7,000. As a teacher, nothing is more rewarding than having students that love you dearly. His great-uncle was very much appreciated by the students of the military school in Siberia where he served as superintendent. To show their appreciation, they gifted him this tea set. Shortly after, his great-uncle did a very heroic thing for his students. When they needed help to get out of Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution, he helped the students and their families escape on a train while they all disguised as Czech peasants. Diverting back to the main item of the show, which is the tea set,
there are elements to this tea set which I think very clearly demonstrate what became a pan-Slavic style that took influences from Europe and elsewhere and made it into something quintessentially Russian.
Although the tea set was the main item, the heroic story of his great-uncle was more fascinating to hear. The tea set was valued between $2,000 to $3,000.
Oh, very good. Very, very good. That's more than I thought. I appreciate that.
$25. The mother of this lady bought this marvelous furniture. $25 may seem small, but at the time that she bought it, which was right after the Second World War, $25 was nothing to sneeze at. The furniture was made by a 19th century cabinet maker, Lamb Manchester. It was made using hairwood with a marquetry design on the front and brass beading on the edges. English furniture from the 18th and 19th century were mostly unsigned, but this furniture had the signature of a prominent maker, which helped to boost the value. The condition of the furniture wasn't the best, as the colors were faded and some beads had fallen out. That didn't, however, stop it from being the fantastic piece that it is.
It's probably only age which has mellowed it to this.
The value of the piece?
I would insure it for $4,500.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
People who love the color green may be a little butthurt to hear this.
This green, this really nasty green that's on it, yields to this robin's egg blue, which is a color Van Briggle was very well known for.
The vase was made by Van Briggle, a pottery firm established by an American couple, Artist and Anna Briggle. The wife of the guest bought the vase, and it was used as an umbrella stand in their home. Later on, the vase was tucked away because they weren't fans of the color. When the vase was made, it was painted blue. However, someone who probably preferred the color green decided to repaint it. This vase is a great example of Van Brig's wonderful pottery designs.
$10,000 pot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Each of these photographs has a unique history attached to it.
What actually took place behind each of them, especially this one being on the MGM Studios lot, the props. We always just thought he went by a broken down house. And
the guest said the photo had been in his family for over 50 years. They are photos taken by Edward Weston within the period of 1936 to 1939. Edward Weston was one of the most innovative and influential photographers. He utilized a large format camera to produce the black and white images that were incredibly detailed and razor sharp. Despite the damage on this photograph, the appraiser said it was the most valued. It has an inscription on the back, and in a remarkable turn of events, the person in the photo became Edward Weston's wife. She was his muse. All 4 photographs were said to be worth about $250,000. One would assume that this rocking chair is merely an ugly piece of furniture after taking just one look at it. It is, however, a distinctive example of unique American furniture. If you take a closer look at it, you would start to recognize the level of skill and craftsmanship that went into making it. This Longhorn rocking chair is believed to have been built in Texas over 100 years ago. The guest who brought it in said that his father-in-law gave it to him before he passed away. Chair was purchased by him for $75 at an antique shop in Jerseyville, Illinois. Can you guess how much it is worth now? Recognizing the craftsmanship and uniqueness of the chair, the appraiser places an estimated value of about $2,000 to $2,500. Our next guest comes along with a handwritten letter. This letter was written by J.R.R. Tolkien, who is the author of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. J.R.R. Tolkien is known for his distinctive handwriting, which exudes a sense of elegance and craftsmanship.
It was almost like a medieval-looking hand and a very kind of a calligraphic but a Gothic-looking hand.
Along with his beautiful signature, the letter written in 1957 features and mentions some of his best-known works, including The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Where was this letter actually written?
And it's written, you can barely see it here, but it's from Oxford, where he was teaching. He taught early and middle English at Oxford.
In 1995, a librarian had told the guest that the letter was only worth $700. However, its value does not diminish. It only increases.
No, it doesn't diminish, it increases. I would feel comfortable estimating this at auction at $8,000 to $12,000.
Did you know that the horseshoe is a timeless symbol of good luck and good fortune? It is often gifted to newlyweds to wish them good luck in their marriage. This stunning antique diamond horseshoe pin with exceptional quality was brought on the show by this guest. How did she get this beautiful piece of jewelry? She said,
"The pin was actually my great-grandmother's, I understand, and she gave it to my grandmother."
Her grandmother can be seen wearing the pin in this picture. The horseshoe is made up of approximately 6 carats total weight of diamond.
You see a lot of horseshoes in jewelry. However, they're not always this large, and this piece has been soldered stiff. The other thing you'll notice is that it has this beautiful, beautiful work.
The pin itself is made of platinum.
My feeling is that there's a good chance this was manufactured in the United States.
How much do you think this pin would be worth?
I feel today at auction a pin like this would be $5,000 to $7,000 at auction.
That much?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Now, how much would you be willing to pay for these Chinese cloisonné cats? The owner purchased them at an estate sale in Canton, Ohio about 7 years ago. They were made with the oldest and best-known enameling technique.
There is in both China and Japan a history of working with enamels, which is what this is.
When flipped over, there is a surprising white color underneath. A cash symbol in the form of a circular medallion can also be seen. However,
there's some damage that's occurred on the back of this, and in fact I can turn this over so you can see. Right here there's some damage that's occurred on the neck. And when you look at the underside also, we can see that there's some wear on the base of the feet, indicating that this has been around again.
Okay.
When was this beautiful piece of art even created?
Indicate that it is from the first quarter of the 20th century.
For an item she purchased for $75, you would be surprised at the amount it was appraised for.
And in the current market, these would likely sell in the $2,500 to $4,000 range at auction.
Wow.
The next item is a quintessential collection of the School of Paris prints. They are the works of Paris artists working in the 1930s and 1940s. The first print on the left is quite scarce and rarely comes to auction. It is the work of one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, Pablo Picasso. His early signature can be seen on it. The one in the middle is made by Maureen Lawrenson. She made lots of lithographs, which are mostly of mysterious women. This particular art was done with a crayon on a litho stone. The third one was made in the 1930s by Henry Matisse. It is a portrait of his wife, Emil Matisse, which contains his signature. How did the guest get the rare items?
They were my grandparents. They brought them back from Paris. They were hanging in our living room since before I was born.
Marie Lawrenson's print was said to be worth $3,000 to $5,000, while the portrait from Matisse was valued at $5,000 to $7,000. The piece from Picasso was appraised at a value of $10,000 to $15,000.
So we're looking about approximately, $18,000 to $25,000 at auction.
These sexy cards, as described by the appraiser, happen to be the work of a Peruvian artist, Alberto Vargas.
The back of the cards show the masks of comedy and tragedy.
The owner had found them in her grandparents' house.
And then I thought there was something special about him. I didn't want to ruin him.
Alberto Vargas is a legendary artist known for the sweet, sexy images of pinup girls. His works appeared on all kinds of things, like posters for magazines and even in movies. His last and probably his most famous work was this cover he did for the Cars album in 1979. The card cover of this Alberto Vargas playing cards is actually designed like a book.
The card cover is actually designed like a book. It's metal, and that's, I think, what's kept him in such great shape. You can see that this was a set that was given out by a company in Cleveland, Ohio, Electro Hercules Steel Company.
At auction, it would be worth an estimated value of $500. The next item is these Beniamino Bufano bronze sculptures. Beniamino Bufano was an Italian-American sculptor who is most famous for his large-scale sculptures. The guest brought on the show two of his animal-themed bronze. Her in-laws had given them to her. At the base of the sculptures, the signature of Bufano can be seen along with their limitation numbers. These sculptures were appraised for about $10,000. The next item is this Zia Pueblo ceramic. Zia Pueblo, well known for its redware and polychrome pottery, often features designs painted in brown or black. The guest great-grandfather, who was a collector at the time, purchased it from New Mexico. How old is this pot exactly?
But this pot dates from around 1930, 1935.
One distinguishing feature of Zia ceramics is the bird motif. At the top, there is a deer design as well. It has black feather motifs and rainbow patterns. What is the price worth of this ceramic ola?
I think probably in the realm of $25,000 to $35,000.
No kidding.
Is that good news?
Very good news.
This is not just a functional piece of lighting. It is a work of art that tells a story of Japan's artistic heritage. How did this guest come to acquire this item? Take a look at the cloisonné bronze lamp's intricate floral motif, showcasing the skill and artistry of the Meiji period artisans. The lamp is made to look like it has two phoenix birds sitting in a tree.
This is actually a bronze piece with gilt overlay, so it's not mixed metal.
Trailing vines and leaves can be seen on it. Semi-precious stones can also be seen on the tail feathers of the phoenix. What is it worth?
The market is such that you're looking now at a value of about $20,000 to $30,000 at auction.
This painting of a cute-looking child is said to have been done in the mid-1960s by Margaret Keane. The guest said,
My mother-in-law purchased it on a trip to Hawaii. That I'm not very fond of it. My husband loves it, so it's kind of been in the dining room, not in a place of prominence.
Margaret is an American artist with one of the most recognizable signature artistic styles of the late 20th century. She often worked with acrylics, which allowed her to produce a number of paintings daily. Margaret Keane is widely known for painting big-eyed children. How much do you think this painting is worth?
These waifs were her signature.
I see, yes.
Yeah.
According to the appraiser, its auction estimate is about $5,000 to $8,000. The next items are treasures in the form of English and German-made toy cars. The owner's parents started collecting them even before he was born.
You knew that you weren't supposed to play with them?
Well, they were bought for me and they was put in a display cabinet.
This is just a bit of his collection. He had actually never played with any of these cars. These sets of cars were made in roughly the same period, between the 1930s and 1940s. The most interesting one is the Dinky toy, made from 1936 to 1938. It has a unique feature at the front, as the radiator in the form of a tin plate can be seen. This is an English-made Triang mimic toy. There's the Schuko car, which was made in Germany, while the Dinky toy cars were made with die-cast. The Schuko car was made with tin plate. This blue toy car has features like voice activation through the grill seen at the top.
And what you have to do, you shout at it, don't you, and it stops, and
That's
then
it,
you
yeah.
shout at it again and it goes.
The other Shuko toy car has a gear lever with forward and reverse gears. The value of these toys was actually quite surprising. The Dinky toy would be worth $250 to £300, and the voice command toy is worth about £100, while the rather larger ones would be worth $150 to £180. This is an Anglo-Indian work table with an interesting history.
Really? So it's about 140 years old, in my opinion.
It is believed to have been commissioned by a British district commissioner or colonel in India for his wife, the Memsahib. It combines elements of English Regency design with distinct Indian craftsmanship. The top of the table features English gadrooning, while the pedestals and legs incorporate intricate Indian carving.
These are very Regency in shape and form, but then it goes crazy.
The table functions as a work table, not a writing table, with a wool well and a drawer for needlework or tapestry.
So this is where Memsahib sat, put a tapestry.
The appraiser estimates that this table could be worth approximately £1,500. The next item will be much loved by doll collectors and lovers. The owner got it from her grandmother.
My great-grandmother brought it over on a ship from France.
It was made by a French company, Jumeau, which is known for designing and manufacturing high-quality brisk dolls. So many beautiful features can be seen on this Jumeau doll. It has pierced ears with glass ball earrings.
They're put on after the doll has been molded. And the earrings look to be original.
It also has a unique blue paperweight eyes, which makes it very desirable. And it even has a human hair wig. Its facial features are exquisite and flawless. At the back of its head, the number 11 is written to denote the doll's size. At auction,
Today at auction, this doll would bring between $16,000 and $18,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And if she had the original clothes, you could add another 20% to them.
This Aurifer's aerial vase is a stunning piece of art glass. Aurifer's Glassworks is a Swedish crystal brand known to have produced timeless and elegant glasses. This vase was signed at the bottom by its designers Elvis Årström and Vicky Lindstrand.
It's actually named after the air spirit in Shakespeare's The Tempest.
They named it Ariel because of the mind-blowing techniques they used to achieve this unique look with vibrant colors.
It was developed by Årström and Vicky Lindström, who were two people who were working at...
It is quite an unusual kind of vase, according to the appraiser.
You don't see too many Aurifer's vases with the chameleon design. And the coloration is unusual. It also even has some aventurine in it. Aventurine are those little sparkles that you see.
The guest had purchased it for $100.
I've owned it for about 4 years. I purchased it at a thrift shop auction.
How much do you think it's worth?
I think in a retail shop that this could sell for $35,000 to $45,000. Examples like this, from this time period, in this shape, in the form.
Okay.
The Marquette de Lafayette presented this lap desk to Eliza Park Custis, the granddaughter of the former First Lady of the United States, Martha Washington.
The history behind this box is absolutely incredible.
The lap desk was purchased by the owner from a descendant of Eliza Park Custis. It had inscriptions and letters stating when the box was given and to whom it was given to. Made to serve as a travel desk for a lady, the desk contained necessary compartments for holding materials, such as a pen and ink. In 1823, this same desk was given by Eliza Park to her daughter, Elizabeth Park Law. It must be thrilling knowing that an item you own was once in the possession of people of such high social status. What is even more exciting is its value.
In terms of the value of it, I would place a pre-sale estimate of somewhere from $30,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
These paintings, executed in oil on canvas, were created by George Hitchcock. Hitchcock, an American painter, was primarily active in Europe, especially in the Netherlands.
I think the painting might have been just one painting, and I think my aunt could have had a lot of gumption and cut them in half, but I'm not sure. And that's why I brought them in to you.
The paintings were brought to the show by our guest, who inherited them from her grandfather.
He's already left the United States and he doesn't come back. And these would have been done in the Netherlands, as you can tell by the headdress on the two lovely ladies here.
Upon closer inspection, we can see the artist's signature, dated 1889. The paintings depict two girls seated in a chair surrounded by flowers. This pair of paintings, known as a diptych, was completed simultaneously. Interestingly, despite being over a century old, these paintings still retain their elegance and originality. At auction, this pair of evocative paintings is estimated to be worth...
At auction, conservatively, we would put the value at $50,000 to $70,000.
Usually, when vases are mentioned, people's thoughts turn to pottery and ceramics. However, today's piece is quite unique for being neither, but instead being a unique wooden vase. Made by a California artist named Doug Ayers, this piece of work is truly revealing. This bud vase is designed to highlight the boldness of a single stem. This unique work of art in today's market would be worth...
I know nothing about this guy.
He actually was a California artist working in Mendocino, California.
This item is a fantastic piece of baseball history. It is called a presentation piece, and it was given to clubs that had won the World Series. The presentation piece is a photo that shows all of the players on the team. This piece was presented to the Chicago Cubs circa 1908.
And this was given out to celebrate the fact that the Cubs had won the World Series in 1907 and 1908. The first team ever to do that. Of course, the World Series started in 1903.
It shows many important figures in the team at that time, including Mordecai Brown. Mordecai has a fascinating story behind his rise in baseball.
And his hand got caught in the corn shredder, and it actually took off his finger right down to the nub here in the second knuckle. Later, he fell and broke two other fingers.
It also shows the Cubs' defense, which were considered to be one of the strongest at the time. If this presentation piece were to be offered at an auction, it would retail at the price of...
This is valued at about $5,000.
Oh my, that's shocking. It's amazing.
This uniform belonged to the guest, who was a bat boy for the Cleveland Indians in 1948. The guest's family moved to Cleveland, and he participated in a contest, thereby landing the role of bat boy. 1948 was a significant year for the Cleveland Indians as they won their last World Series.
Here they won their second of two World Series, their last World Series championship.
This wool uniform was worn by the guest during the regular season and the World Series. The 1948 season also bore witness to a legendary player in action. Satchel Paige was an American professional baseball pitcher whose career spanned 5 decades in Negro League Baseball and Major League Baseball, MLB. This Bat Boy jersey is unique and in excellent condition. Considering the rarity of game-worn Bat Boy jerseys, its auction value is set at...
Given that, I think of value at auction, I think $2,000 to $3,000.
All right.
In Iranian culture, rugs like the one displayed serve as symbols of status and heritage. This particular rug was acquired by the guest at a yard sale. Known as a sumac rug, it dates back to the 1960s and originates from the Caucasus Mountains in Europe. Additionally, the rug features a silk pile and is woven on a cotton foundation. Surprisingly, this antique rug is in perfect condition. The value of this culturally symbolic rug is placed at...
The retail value for it would be about $2,000. So I think you made a great investment.
Wow.
We are presented with a pair of elegant paintings brought by our guest, who inherited them from her mother-in-law.
These came down from the family, and each woman brought it down.
So it's been handed down to daughter to daughter-in-law. Okay.
These works were created by Benjamin Greenleaf. Greenleaf was an American portraitist active in New England throughout his career.
He was an itinerant painter going from town to town, staying there until he'd either worn his welcome out or he's painted enough commissions that he was done.
The painting closest to the appraiser features a woman and is a reverse painting on glass. In contrast, the second painting, which depicts a gentleman, was executed on a wooden panel. However, the frames of these paintings have been replaced, which slightly diminishes their value.
A diploma, those little black ones.
Okay.
And they were falling apart,
Okay.
so that's why we had them.
The auction value of these items by Greenleaf would be
$5,000 to $7,000.
just like any other exquisite painting. This still life oil painting is a captivating piece. The piece was painted by Charles Ethan Porter, who was a student of the National Academy of Design in New York City. He was one of the first African Americans to exhibit there and was the only African American artist at the turn of that century who painted in still life.
And of course, the prevailing attitude at the time was that quote-unquote Negroes weren't really capable.
This particular painting, an oil on canvas, is signed C.E. Porter in the top left corner and is dated between 1875 and 1879, after his time at the National Academy of Design, but before his Parisian studies.
He had the support of a lot of people in Hartford, including Samuel Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, Twain's wife, Olivia Clemens.
As seen, the painting features a suspended apple, drawing the viewer's eye and showcasing Porter's talent for still life. Given its significance and the artist's historical importance, this painting would sell for...
So at retail, I think I would put a price of around $25,000 on it.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that is fantastic.
At first glance, this item looks like an ordinary poster, but it is an original painting of a little girl.
We do know she came from a wealthy family out on Staten Island. The family had a ferry. Her uncles and grandfathers had connections with George Washington.
This painting features a beautiful fence and a stunning rendition of her head and also the background, which includes lace, flowers, and strawberry designs. Although the artist is unknown and definitely a non-academic painter,
a non-academic painter, this means somebody that's not exactly trained as an official academic artist with great background and training.
this is the dream painting everyone looks for in Americana. On the back, it has original stretchers and canvas, and the varnish has never been removed. Although some sort of discoloration is seen, it doesn't affect its value. This beautiful painting with wonderful decorative elements has a price value of...
Possibly at auction, I would think the picture would bring between $30,000 and $40,000.
Really?
The guest, a collector of old photographs, brought a record with photos. He acquired this piece in North Carolina at an antique show, and it contains all the family names. We see a visibly colored sheet, which is a family record featuring different phases of life.
Is a family record with the introduction of the Pilgrims.
It ranges from childhood days and courtship to school days and more. We also see scenes that evoke a typical American life. Fascinatingly, objects in this piece can be dated by the different photographs that appear. The item features unique photographic portraits depicted in two different techniques.
So these darker images are tintypes, and these brownish images are carte visites, albumen calling cards.
This beautiful 18th century family record with unique portraits and pictures of children has a collection, would have an auction estimate of...
Somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400.
Oh, amazing. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
A thing of beauty, that's what this watch is. The complexity of the watch is beautiful and immediately appeals to many watch collectors. This is a perpetual calendar watch which has a lot of bells and whistles. The watch works in quite an interesting way. The watch is also a chronograph watch because it can be used as a stopwatch. Additionally, the watch is a repeater, which is quite fascinating.
You told me something when we were at the table. What'd you say?
For a watch to be so unique and functional in so many ways, this watch is a masterpiece. If it were to be sold at an auction, this watch would easily retail at the auction value of...
Somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000.
No.
This exquisite beaded purse was purchased by our guest about 10 years ago. The purse, dating from around 1915 to 1925, stands out not only for its size, but also for its impeccable condition. Featuring a floral pattern composed of several colors of glass beads, the purse boasts approximately 150 beads per square inch.
And what is amazing about it, beyond the size, is this condition. It's a floral pattern, and we've got several colors of glass beads.
The handles are also embroidered with beads on both sides, adding to its charm and value. It is believed to be made in France due to its exquisite design and the absence of the white bead typically found in American-made purses from that time. The cotton sateen lining, in excellent condition, displays a beautiful Art Deco pattern from the 20s to 30s. Though the hardware is stamped steel rather than sterling, it features a sliding locking mechanism.
They would put in a single quadrant of the purse a white bead, and there is no white bead on this purse, so it's not a signature American piece.
Given its exceptional quality, this purse would be valued at,
I would say on today's market, a purse of this exceptional quality would bring around $2,000.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you.
This piece is a study of the painting Safe by Jared French, which was discovered in the guest's father-in-law's apartment.
When he passed away, my wife, cleaning out the apartment, found it, so we brought it home and reframed it. It's been hanging in our house for the last 10 years.
Jared French, an American artist born in 1905 in Ossining, New York, is known for his work in magic realism, blending magical elements with realistic landscapes. This drawing is signed in the lower right and diverges from his usual style and medium. French studied at Amherst College and the Art Students League, and briefly worked on Wall Street.
He left Wall Street after the crash in 1929, and he worked briefly for the WPA, and he ended up doing murals for various post offices and other projects.
His typical medium was egg tempera, but this study utilizes wash and possibly gouache or tempera for highlights. This piece is linked to a painting of the same name in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and the preserved label on the back confirms this connection. At auction, this piece would sell for,
I think if you were to sell this retail, it might bring as much as $20,000.
Wow. I'm going to go to the Cooperstown now and look at the painting.
Yeah.
This fascinating pair of plaques caught the eye of our guest and her daughter at an auction. The plaques were thought to have been designed and sculpted by E.W. Wyan in 1848. E.W. Wyan, part of the renowned Wyan dynasty, was active from 1811 to 1885 and later worked for Wedgwood.
It is sculpted by E.W. Wyan also, and we did some research on E.W. Wyan.
And what did you come up with?
Well, we found that he was of the Wyan dynasty.
However, these plaques are modern reproductions crafted from pressed stone composition with some carved details. If these plaques were original 19th century pieces, their value would be in the thousands. The frames and backs are intentionally aged to mimic 19th century pieces.
It cost us $200, and it's a smaller frame, but we wanted it to go along with the other one.
If in fact these were by Wyan and they were 19th century sculptures or plaques.
Although these pieces are not original, they are still wonderful decorative items that evoke a historical charm. Despite being reproductions, the prices paid to acquire these items by the guest were fair, and they are worth.
So basically, what you paid at $85 for this is a fairly good market rate for it. $200 for that, maybe a little strong, but not a great deal over the price that you should have been paying.
A guest brought in a family portrait from his mother's side, originally from Rhode Island. Known as the Scary Portrait, it used to frighten them as kids. Now he loves it and displays it in the dining room where it often sparks conversation. Unfortunately, his late mother couldn't identify the people in it. The appraiser praised the portrait's fine craftsmanship and beautifully painted children. It depicted an upper-class family with an older sister using crutches and touching her younger brother. The painting was estimated to be from the 1870s or 1880s. The appraiser praised the portrait as a great folk piece, noting the unusual crutches and skilled painting. Despite its large size, the captivating subject and emotional depth made it popular. The appraiser agreed, confirming the painting's charm and importance. While examining the condition of the portrait, the appraiser said,
A conservative auction estimate would be $6,000 to $8,000,
And we think for insurance purposes, it probably would be around $15,000.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Today's guest brought in a spectacular painting acquired some years ago in Tulsa. The painting is a stunning work by Belgian painter and illustrated Joseph Cummins. Cummins is renowned for his Greco-Roman historical scenes, which blend fiction with classical genres. The painting is signed and dated in the lower right-hand corner. This oil painting on a wooden panel is exceptionally smooth and showcases exquisite details.
What you have is a spectacular example of a work by a Belgian artist named Joseph Cummins.
The details include a still life with fruit and wine, children on an animal skin rug, and a woman adorned with jewelry.
And here is this woman seated in this wonderful chair with a sphinx for an arm, and she's got on beautiful jewelry and holding a peacock feather fan.
The meticulous craftsmanship and rich narrative elements make this painting truly remarkable. At auction today, this spectacular piece of art would be worth...
I think at auction today it might be something like $30,000 to $50,000.
Oh, I sure appreciate it. That just really thrills me.